I'm Kathleen Barnes from Take Charge Books, and with me is Doug Bennett, the author of Life and Spirit in the Quantum Field. Fascinating topic. This is the second part of our video and audio series, and in the first one we talked a little bit about what the quantum field is and how it can work in many ways in our lives and in sort of paranormal experiences as well. And I'd like to talk in this segment about the future and what does the quantum field mean to the future, and how can it be used to tap into future events, or is there even such a thing as time?
Future is an interesting topic. People have always wanted to know the future. There have always been people willing to tell you what the future will be. But the quantum field, I think, makes it actually possible. And the reason it makes it possible is that things in the quantum field are distributed across space and time, which means that the information is not limited to now. There's stuff from the past, the way we think of the past, and from what we think of as the future. An issue with telling the future, I think, as I first thought about it, was if you can tell the future, then it must be already there. It must be fixed. And nobody likes the idea of a fixed future. It's, predestination and all that stuff. But we're talking about the future being embodied, at least the information about the future, being embodied in the quantum field. And the quantum field is nothing if not malleable. It is simply waves, and it is subject to influence from all kinds of things. Anything that has any harmony with anything else mixes together and influences each other. So if the information about the future is there, it doesn't have to be fixed. It can be as malleable as the present. So you may get information about the future which may or may not happen because it may be subject to change by the time it gets around to actually happening.
I guess that's the question we all have of, is predestined, and say someone who has an illness and, there could be a number of possible futures, surgery, natural healing, all kinds of things, and what are the outcomes of these various things. Can this kind of knowledge be used to access that sort of information?
Sure. And I think accessing information about the future is the same as accessing any intuitive information. It requires an awareness of your inner state. It requires a quieting of the ego and the conscious mind. But in that state, you can access lots of things, including the future. In fact, as I understand it, in the Old Testament, there were prophets. They were big on prophets in the Old Testament. And one of the ways they could tell whether someone was a prophet or just making things up was if they were a healer. Because healers can access information across both space and time. And so anyone who was a healer, ability to lay hands on someone and make them better, should also be able to tell the future.
That's pretty exciting. And for those of us who are fans of Fringe and some of these other kind of paranormal type shows that seem to be all over television these days, does this then open the possibility of parallel universes with parallel or similar futures, or maybe entirely different futures when, say, humankind took a choice to take a different path, say to have a war or not have a war, and so forth?
In my thinking to date, and the model that I'm proposing in the book, I have no opinion on parallel universes. I do think that everything is up for change and influence from a huge number of sources. But I didn't find any need, at least in what I was trying to do, to say that there are things happening in parallel. I know that, there is a theory like that, the many universes theory. I guess I don't like the theory very much, so I didn't go out of my way to incorporate it. But I do think that the future, and there's even some evidence that the past, is subject to change, subject to influence by lots of sources.
Like what?
Our intentions, our feelings, more than conscious intentions, but it is our feelings that are the means of influence. It is our means of communication with the field. So, if you're talking about someone who is ill, for example, and you're wondering what their future prognosis is, their future prognosis is influenced by all kinds of things, including their own feelings and expectations, the feelings and beliefs of their family members, their caregivers, and even the community at large.
I think that's a subject for a whole segment on healing, because I think this is really fascinating and where we can go with this. But we'll leave the future to rest for now. Thank you. I'm Kathleen Barnes with Take Charge Books, and with me is Doug Bennett, author of Life and Spirit in the Quantum Field. It's available on Amazon and all the online booksellers, as well as you can ask your local bookstore to order it for you. Thank you.